Dr. Judy, I'm not even sure exactly what we're about to do, so I'm going to let you take it away and explain what's going on.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to do a little assessment about what IPT could possibly help you to optimize in your life.
Fantastic.
So we're going to talk a little bit about personality traits and your preferred method of interacting with the social world. And we're going to talk about those 4 factors that oftentimes people think about when they discuss IPT. So areas of life that people might need some help with, whether it's grief, interpersonal conflict, certain social skills that might need bolstering, and role transitions or role conflicts.
Cool.
So the first thing that I'm going to ask you is, when you think about those 4 areas, is there something that kind of sticks out to you that is an area that you're feeling really good about right now? Something that you feel is a strength of yours, whether it's your role in life, the way that you interact with others, issues with grief, and social skills overall.
Well, I think your question was what I feel good about.
Yeah.
I feel good about the direction I'm going with in those areas. I feel like I'm improving in all 4.
Great.
I feel great at work with my role at work. Where I don't feel as good is I still don't feel as good socially connecting with anybody. I am a recluse. I'd rather just be by myself. I can only take so much people before I get peopled out. And so that comes across as me being blunt, annoyed, irritated, disappointed. I mean, the number of times I have been out in public and a stranger has come up to me and said, "Why don't you smile?" More than I can count. Because I don't want to be there. I'd rather just be at home.
Yep. Interesting. Okay. And does that cause any conflicts for you in terms of relationship? You're like, yes, it does.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Because it's to such a it's so far on the spectrum of wanting to be by myself that dating is really hard because the other person wants to go out. I don't want to go out. They have friends that I don't care about seeing. And even maintaining the relationships I do have. Yeah. My friends have to put in a lot of work, and I really appreciate it. But they have to put in a lot of work because I'm not going to be the one to do a lot of the work.
Interesting. So are there certain areas in which you feel like that impacts you more than others? So I think you mentioned dating.
Yeah, relationships.
A little bit of
the
social friendships.
Yeah.
Not so much work relationships.
No, I love work. And so those relationships to me already come with such great benefits that they seem easier to maintain.
Yeah, and you're very affiliative at work because I see you in this environment.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
You're very gregarious.
Yes.
But just at work, apparently.
Yeah,
more so.
Because we all love what we're doing here, and so it creates a really great environment. And it is like I get to go to work with my friends.
Okay,
so, yeah, I like
awesome.
that.
And are there specific relationships, either with family members or friends, that you feel like this impacts that relationship and you'd like to maybe work on?
Well, I'm pretty good with all my family, but where I could probably improve my relationship is with my brother. He has been married for a few years. They have a 2-year-old, so he has his own life. And like I mentioned earlier, I rely on other people to put in a lot of the work. And because he really has his own life now, he has less time to call me. I've already don't do a good enough job of connecting with him. So I think that is a relationship that I could improve.
Okay, great. So IPT could probably help you with that, navigating your relationship with your brother and finding a good middle ground so that you still feel like you're true to yourself, but then it also encourages more closeness with your brother, especially because both of you guys have your own lives, you're both busy, and your general tendency would just be then to keep to yourself instead of going and engaging, especially when there's other types of issues that you'll have to work around to get to see your brother in the first place and spend quality time with him. So I want to back up and talk a little bit about personality traits and the ways in which you like to navigate the social world. IPT relies on this model called the interpersonal circumplex. And it sounds more complicated than it is, but if you just imagine a circle, there's sort of 4 quadrants of the circle. So at the top is the dimension of dominance. So people who are very agentic, they believe that they can have a cause and effect relationship with their environment and the world around them. And then on the bottom is passiveness. So somebody who's less dominant, they're less passive, they're more passive. they're less agentic. And if you imagine that at the top, where basically 12 o'clock would be on a clock, that would be the dominance factor. And then at 6 o'clock would be the passive factor. And then at 3 o'clock would be the affiliative or communion factor. This is somebody who is very warm, very gregarious all the time, people person. And then at the 9 o'clock position, it would be somebody who's on the cooler side of things. They're less communal. In general, their relationships have to have a goal to them, and if not, they don't see relationship development quite as something that is...
So I'm like 1030.
I love that you said that, and I feel like we need to post your results in a graphic form, because that's exactly where you were in terms of the assessment and how it turned out.
I didn't even know
the form. It's ridiculous.
So they had me fill out a form before this, and I did not understand what it was for. They just said, fill this out. I said, no problem. So I filled it out. She just explained the diagram. I said 1030, and now she has the actual results.
Yep, I do have the actual results, and you are exactly at 1030. So you are generally a dominant person.
Yes.
Who is on the cooler side of things.
Correct.
So that's where you and I differ. I just retook this evaluation. And by the way, this can change depending on where you are in your life.
Yeah.
I think at a different phase in my life, I was probably closer to where you were, but now I'm like 130. So I'm dominance, but I'm leaning towards
the
warmer side.
Yeah,
you know?
I would like to get to a 130. I'd like to get to a 1.
Yeah, just
1
try.
p.m. would be great
just to
for
get
me.
to a 1. But let me read you some of the traits that are associated with somebody who might be at 1030. So this is somebody who has important goals on success, wants to be successful, likes to give advice. So again, that's the part of you that actually is quite communal. You want to help other people. And that's what you do for work.
That's true.
You're helping other people,
Yes.
but you see that it's goal-oriented.
Yes.
You're helping other people achieve something.
Yes.
As opposed to, let's just have a tea party for 6 hours and
Right.
let's just talk about anything under the sun, and who cares if there's a goal to it or not.
And a lot of my advice giving, I hope, is solicited advice.
Yeah. Yes, and I think you respect that.
Yeah.
Makes a good impression, often admired and respected by others. Well thought of. Dominating, likes responsibility, good leader, can be somewhat forceful and able to give orders.
Yeah.
Can be somewhat proud and self-reliant, as well as assertive, self-confident, independent, and self-respecting. At the same time, thinks about calculating ways in which to achieve a goal, and can sometimes be indifferent to others and have less patience for other people's weaknesses.
True. Yeah,
That's a
I
1030.
own all of that. Yeah.
That's a 1030 person.
Yeah.
So that's a 1030 person.
Is that accurate for the people who know me? Would you say?
Yeah, very.
Yeah, they're nodding their heads. Yes.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to know where you're starting from and where you are, because that in itself can explain some of the relationship struggles that you might be having.
Yes.
Or the types of relationship that you tend to like better.
Yeah.
So you tend to like people who are probably either a 1030 or maybe they're a 130, because at least you can relate on the dominance level.
Right.
I think it's harder for you to deal with people who are completely passive and also super communal. So as somebody who's a 530, that would be very, very hard for you. If you imagine the circle, you would be on direct opposite ends from them, right? A 1030, a 430, 530, it'd be like, where is our common ground?
Well, but you made such a good point at the beginning of this, which is our place on the clock may change.
Yes.
So you might have married a 1030, and then 15 years later, you wake up and they're a 530. So I'm really curious to see what your advice is for that, but I'll let you keep running the session here.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that is why it's really cool to check in with the circumplex at different times in your life, because your priorities will shift. And I think I started shifting to from a 1030, 1130 to a 130 more so after my first loss of a loved one. You know, really recognizing that relationships, you can't take them for granted, that your relationships with people are fleeting. And what somebody told me, which is that no one's on their deathbed recounting all their successful things. Like, I'm not going to be on my deathbed thinking about my board certifications. I'm going to be thinking about the relationships I had with people and the memories I have with my community. And so I do think that it can shift over time. And at the same time, it can be so illustrative of why you have difficulties with certain people. Like, I do struggle still with people who might be a 430 or 530, people who are very warm, but lack some of that dominance and that drive. Because for me, being in the 130 position, I would feel like I want to go and help them. Like, come on, let's go, let's do something,
yes,
right? And then I also probably don't necessarily have a lot of 730s or 830s in my circle, because that's somebody who's not quite warm, but also is really passive. So what am I getting from that interaction? It probably doesn't nurture me in a way that would make me want to facilitate that relationship.
Yes.
But imagine if that 730 or 830 person is a family member. So you still want to promote some kind of positive relation. So understanding where you are on the clock is already something that's so helpful in the beginning phases of IPT to see where you might be struggling with certain people in your life.
Yeah.
Knowing family members, other important people, spouses, even your boss, and where they are on the clock can help you to communicate better with them.
Yes.
So that even if it's not your preferred style of communication, knowing where they're starting from can help you to work with them better,
yes,
to get them to listen to you better, and again, to affect the outcomes that you actually want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I'm speaking from people who have worked with me here. I tell people when they start with MedCircle, I go, look, I'm really blunt. It's nothing against you. It's just I'm trying to go at a fast pace. And the feedback I get later is, I'm so glad you told me that, because I knew that I didn't need to take it personally. And once I realized you really meant it, it really wasn't anything personal.
Right.
Your attitude really wasn't about me. It made working with you so much easier.
Right.
Now, what I would like to do, though, in my life is meet them halfway.
Yes.
It's not like, now you have to adapt to my personality style. I would like to be able to meet people halfway, which I've worked on a lot, just working on empathy with Dr. Ramani.
Yes.
But I'm curious to see how this, through IPT, could get me closer to that 130 mark.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it, when you think about IPT and what it helps you to work on, is not only to smooth over interpersonal conflict, but also to give you certain types of social skills where maybe you need a little bit more development on. And so sometimes when individuals are trying to come closer to somebody on the clock, so to speak, or come to a more compatible place, it's really about, in some ways, mimicking what you know is valuable to them.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that you have to value those things,
right,
but if you value that relationship,
right,
then you do the thing that you know they appreciate.
Right.
And I still, and I think that sometimes when you're taking this quiz that I just had you take, it depends on your mode of thinking. Right now we're at work. So you're thinking a little bit about how you are. Work Kyle is a 1030. I was thinking sort of more globally and sort of some of the things that I've been dealing with more recently, as I was just explaining. So I felt like when I was taking that assessment, I'm more at a 130. But trust me, I was just a 1030 yesterday at work.
Right.
And I sometimes have to remember, wait, this person needs a little bit more TLC.
Yes.
This person is like a 2 or 3 p.m.
Yes.
And I need to make sure that I couch what I'm saying with some niceties, even though I'm just trying to get my point across.
Yes.
And actually, my husband and I just had this really great conversation about this particular concept, that he's like, there's work Judy, and then there's my wife Judy.
Yeah.
And sometimes, because I work from home oftentimes, I'm not switching fast enough. So then he comes in the room and I'm working and I'm at 10:30 Judy, I'm at work Judy, and I say something to him and he's like, whoa, like that was really kind of aggressive, because I'm just trying to get a point across and go back to work because I'm impatient 10:30 Judy. And then I realized, oh no, but I should be like the 2:30 Judy and be like, oh hey honey,
Yes.
like take a minute, right? And so I think sometimes it really relates to our domains of life too, and how we relate to people and relationships. And if you value that relationship, you're gonna take a minute and, okay, who is this person? This person's a 2:30. Let me try to get closer to that 2:30, at least in this particular interaction I'm about to have.
How do you know when someone's a 230 if you haven't had them take the test?
Well, I think sometimes you can guess from the types of things that they like to spend time with and the ways in which they communicate with you, and observing how they communicate to other people. So you can do your own self-assessment of the loved ones around you.
Got it.
If they seem like they really enjoy, for example, just long hangouts with no particular goal in mind, they're probably going to be on the 12 to 6 o'clock side of that clock anyway,
right,
on the warm side. If somebody is much more goal oriented, and any social event should come with a goal, like, okay, this one is the social event where I'm gonna network, or like, this is the event where we're gonna do like white elephant and everyone's gonna switch gifts. Like, there's always an objective. They're probably on the 7 p.m. to the 12 o'clock side of things, right?
Yes.
And I think you can sort of see that from what people choose to spend their time with.
Yes.
People who, even in their leisurely time, love goals and objectives. I want to do an activity that has a start and an end time and comes with like a certificate at the end.
Right.
Versus I'm just going to knit for the heck of it and just keep knitting for hours and hours. And if I make a hat, great. If I don't make a hat, I don't care. That would be a person who might be even on the more passive side of things versus dominant. So again, you're looking at the 3 to 9 o'clock versus the 9 to 3.
Is there a good place to be on the clock?
Nope. And that's the whole idea. There is no judgment, although I would see certain permutations of the circumflex that uses very negative words to describe people who are on the sort of dominant side of the quadrant. But I think that's a value judgment. I would imagine that the person who painted that particular circumflex is somebody who is on the other side and thinks that they have the better modality.
Right.
I don't think that there is a good modality. I think that we need all modalities to thrive in this world. Sometimes you need a little bit more warmth. Sometimes in a group, you can't have everybody be type A or dominant. Somebody has to be the one who's willing to follow the leader. And so it's really just about having that balance, but it certainly lets you know why certain relationships haven't taken off the way that they have.
Yes, great.
And why you keep getting into a certain fight with certain people.
Yeah.
And so I think that it can be utilized just as a tool for you to improve your own communication style and also become a little bit more of a social chameleon. And I'm saying that with a positive connotation. Sometimes people think of social chameleons like, oh, it's bad. But no, you're just being flexible.
Right.
You're just trying to adapt to the environment so that everybody can feel good.
Absolutely.
So even if you yourself thinks, oh, I'm usually a 10-30 person, but with this person, I'm going to be a little bit more of a 1. And with this person, I'll be a little bit more of a 4 because I don't want to get into a fight with them for nothing.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I recognize myself doing that more and more, and it's really helped. And I think other people have really appreciated, which makes me feel good, because I don't want to live in a world where I'm like, look, I'm Kyle Kittleson, take me or leave me, get out of my way. I want to live in a world where I'm approachable, where people can come to me with important thoughts and feelings that they have and feel like they've been heard because I've actually heard them.
Yeah, and I think that this is a really practical application of just general IPT theory, kind of a do-it-yourself idea of IPT is take the circumflex quiz and then recognize that other people are likely going to have different types of styles of communication. If your spouse or partner or your best friend or your mom or dad is exactly where you are, great, then it should be really easy. You guys use the same exact communication style. But if you have a difference and you notice that other person has a difference from you, just adjust. Just adjust for that communication only to that person.
Yes.
And you'll be able to find so much more congruence and satisfaction from that relationship.
Excellent. All right. Anything else we need to talk about with this?
No, I love assessments. I love personality tests.
too.
This is the one really fun part of IPT. I'm glad that it spoke to you and felt like it described you.
Oh yeah, it was very accurate, I feel like. Thank you for watching this. I'm Kyle Kittleson. Remember, whatever you're going through, you got this. Thank you so much for watching. You can access more videos just like this one using the links in the description below. And remember, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel to stay up to date on the mental health videos we release each week.